Over on What's on Sports, we have a great little section that's called the mailbag. You guys can send in your questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer these questions. I have not looked at these questions. I am in no way an expert on some of these subjects. I just like to give my opinion, and I'm going to put them on the screen. Lance is going to ask the question, and I will answer it. Here we go.
Okay, so first question comes from Todd from Fort Myers, Florida. Hello, Todd, if you're watching. Will their victory in Super Bowl 55 make Byron Leftwich and Todd Bowles the top head coaching candidates?
Well, I believe all head coaching vacancies are filled right now, so there's no opportunity for them right now. Now, going into next year, look, Todd Bowles has already been a head coach, and he failed at it. It was not a good showing. Some guys are better off being coordinators. Maybe he'll get another shot at it. I don't know. I don't think it's happening anytime in the near future. Leftwich and Bowles are both subject to the same thing that Eric Bieniemy is subject to, and that's when you have that much talent. I don't believe it's looked upon by people who run NFL teams as an accomplishment. So you look at Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich had an All-Pro Hall of Fame quarterback. Byron Leftwich had a Hall of Fame tight end. Byron Leftwich had two tight ends behind him, actually, that were very good. One got hurt. Byron Leftwich had 2 Pro Bowl caliber running backs. Byron Leftwich had 3 Pro Bowl caliber wide receivers, one of which is destined to the Hall of Fame. And then they had the other little guy, the guy who thinks he's the fastest guy in the NFL, as their 4th wide receiver. I forget his name now.
Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller. Thank you, sports nerd. Scotty Miller. That's why you're here, because I can never remember his name. And Scotty Miller is their 4th wide receiver. So that team was loaded. So when you look at Byron Leftwich, I think he did a great job this year. That offense was not working, and they figured it out, and they made it work. And that's a good coach. Someone that makes adjustments as the season goes on. It isn't like bullheaded and sticks to what he thinks he knows, but continues to make changes. So for me, that's amazing that he was able to do that. That's fantastic. Is he head coaching material? I don't know that yet. Now, I will say this. Byron Leftwich was a hell of a leader as a quarterback. He wasn't a great quarterback, but he's a hell of a leader. I'll never forget, people who don't remember this, Byron Leftwich played in the MAC. His senior season, he broke his leg in the championship game for the MAC, and his teammates carried him from play to play as he went on like an 80-yard drive. He would throw, make a completion. His offensive line would pick him up over their shoulders and limp him up, and he would somehow get behind center again, and they would snap the ball to him again, and he would make another play. It was one of the most courageous things you'll ever see. So when you see something like that, the guy's a leader. So I think he may get an opportunity. If the team becomes a little less talented and stays as good as they were last year, I think his opportunities will come to him. We have a comment. Let me see what it is. It is Lance is the NFL Wikipedia. Man, they love you in the chat today, Lance.
Yeah, maybe even better.
They're loving you in the chat. All right, let's go to our next question.
Okay, next question comes from Trent from New England. So, hello, Trent. Where will you place Gronk in your all-time tight ends list?
It's always tough for me because everybody plays inside of a different generation. Let me just narrow it down to the last 20 years. I think Rob Gronkowski is the greatest tight end to play football in the last 20 years. He very well could be the greatest tight end to play of all time. Now, it's hard to compare him against somebody like an Ozzie Newsome or a Kellen Winslow because they played in a completely different generation. How would those guys play today? How would those guys reshape their bodies, reshape their games, reshape the way that they were used at the time to be a little more cohesive with what's going on in today's football? I don't know. I can't answer that question. So it's very difficult. It's the Michael Jordan, LeBron question all over again. Michael Jordan played in an era where you could elbow somebody in the forehead and it was fine. So it's a completely different generation, and it's hard to compare those things. I will say that if you want to talk about, your recent greatest tight ends, your Shannon Sharps, your Tony Gonzalez, your Kelsey, I actually forgot his name. He used to play for San Diego. I'm sure you know his name. Oh,
Antonio Gates.
Yeah. Antonio Gates. I'm sorry. I'll just ask you. I'll just shout things out and you'll know what it is. Compared to all of them, he's better than all of them. So in my opinion, Rob Gronkowski is the greatest tight end that maybe we've ever seen play the game. He can do everything. He's a decent blocker. You can line him up outside. He was to be a Steeler killer. I would watch Steeler games against the Patriots. They would line him up outside, and as soon as I saw him out there, I'm like, oh, we're dead. We got no matchup for this guy, and it would just be a nightmare. So Rob Gronkowski is, in my opinion, the greatest tight end of all time. Where do you rank him?
Well, based on your timeline, I would have to put him like on the top as well, because in terms of credentials, Gates does have a lot of yardage, a lot of pass catches as well.
Yeah,
but
he was very good.
He was really good. He was awesome. But unfortunately, San Diego couldn't get over the hump. And Gronkowski also, for too much to his credit, always comes up big in the biggest of games, just like what we saw in Super Bowl 55.
Yeah,
so
100%.
he could have like a pedestrian regular season. I mean, it happened also in New England, even with the late Aaron Hernandez before. It happened also there. So he could have like a pedestrian regular season, and then come playoff time, he's like a notch higher. So usually you describe greatness that way. Do you perform in the biggest of stages when the pressure is on? And
good point.
Without a doubt, Rob Gronkowski is one of the better performers at tight end of all time.
Good point. Gronk's number one for both of us. Let's do our last question.
Okay, so this is from Hannah of Chicago. After what happened in Super Bowl, the latest Super Bowl that is improving the offensive line the Chiefs' priority this offseason?
Okay, that's a great question, Hannah. And I know a lot of people were freaking out saying that that's got to be the top priority. I think that you have to look at it from a couple different angles. And first of all, the Chiefs got put in a bad situation by having to rely on their depth. So, Eric Fisher wasn't someone that was supposed to get hurt. If Eric Fisher doesn't get hurt, you don't have to move your right guard to left tackle, and you don't have to insert Wisniewski, and you don't have this problem on your left side where you're just getting crushed no matter who lines up over there. Kansas City's problems weren't just physical either. It wasn't just I'm lining up on you man on man and I can't block you. A lot of it was scheme related. If you go back and look at the film, there's an all 22 film you can look at. You could see that Tampa Bay ran a lot of really unique stunts and a lot of unique twists in the front. And when offensive lines don't work together for a really long time, they don't have that chemistry. So they don't know who to hand off to. Like, as the guy's coming across my face, am I blocking him? Is he your guy? So these guys just didn't have the time to get that together. Now, there's an argument that can be said that, yes, they need to improve their offensive line from a depth standpoint. So they're going to get the Dr. Corona back. Eric Fisher's going to come back. That offensive line will go back to being the way it was. But I think that every team in the NFL is constantly looking for depth pieces of the offensive line. Kansas City does not have great draft choices coming up. They've got draft choices. They just draft late. This is a deep NFL draft for offensive tackles and a deep offensive draft for interior linemen, especially at the center position. So Kansas City could make some moves. They should make some moves and draft some guys and definitely try to pick up some ancillary pieces. What do you think? Number one priority?
Okay, so definitely number one priority, but just like I mentioned earlier, I think that they still need one more wide receiver to open up the field for Tyreek Hill, because the Buccaneers just were able to game them in Super Bowl 55. So cancel Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs offense will sputter. That's why they were able to allow Travis Kelce to catch like 10, 11-yard passes from Mahomes, because they'd rather give that rather than a 20, 30-yard pass downfield. Yeah. So they would need somebody else to open the field for Tyreek Hill. But the biggest concern for the Chiefs right now actually is that they are still $17 million over the cap.
Yeah.
So that's a bad recipe for trying to improve your roster. So you would have to have some healthy cuts from your roster to be able to improve the parts of your offense or parts of your team that you would like to boost. So the offensive line, I guess, will be more stable once Duvernay and once Schwartz and once Fisher comes back.
Yeah, I agree.
And also the benefit of having an off season, like a training camp, I guess that would help them also. But the target is on their backs now, because even though they get those people back, all of the other teams, the 30 teams in the NFL, have seen how the Buccaneers did it. did it. So they just have to confuse that front 5 or 6 so that Mahomes and all of those guys wouldn't know where the pressure was coming. And it was that easy, actually, to game against Kansas City Chiefs. So other teams would copy that, though.
Kansas City got lucky this year. Their schedule was not strong. Most of the teams they played didn't have the ability to just rush 4 guys and sit everybody else back. The Raiders did it with a lot of success. Nobody else was able to do it and get pressure on Mahomes. If they would have played more teams like the Steelers or things like that, they would have had those problems. If you remember the second half of the Kansas City-Tampa Bay game, they had those problems. Todd Bowles just played coached a horrendous first half against them and let Tyreek Hill pretty much beat him by himself in the first half. But if it wasn't for that, Tampa Bay would have actually beat the Kansas City Chiefs. People forget those things. People just look at the record and they don't look at the games. I watched a lot of Kansas City games this year. Kansas City was in trouble in a lot of those games and was somehow able to miraculously come back. I think that team's going to be in a lot of trouble next year, and we're going to hear a lot of people saying that Patrick Mahomes is not what he used to be. My name is John Todora. I am the sports trader. On my side over there, that's Lance Fernandez. He is the sports nerd. This has been the What's on Sports podcast. Download us on your favorite platform. We're out of here.